Welcome to another show of ransomware and its impacts. My name is Victor Monga. I am Vice Chairman of Varsity Testing Foundation. Today with me, I will not steal your thunder. Go ahead, Michael.
Hey, Victor. Hi, I'm Michael Pooley from Pooley Resiliency Partners. Thanks for joining me today.
Yeah, today we're going to talk about ransomware. Today we're going to talk about the preparation and finally the impacts and the proactive approaches that you should take when it comes to ransomware. So, Michael, let's jump right into it. I know ransom is real. A lot of people have heard over the news. A lot of people have heard from their colleagues, coworkers that from different companies that ransomware hit their company and they lost the productivity and the revenue, all sorts of things. It's here. But at the same time, I think we should define the terms. We should define what it means in general, plain English. What is ransomware? Why people should care for it? What if I'm a small to medium or even large enterprise? This definition can be subjective.
Well, first of all, I think people should recognize there's a lot of bad things that can happen out you in cyber world. It's not just ransomware. I mean, there's power outages. There's employees that may steal your data, but ransomware has really got the attention of the media, and with good reason. Because what happens is people will send emails that mean they look familiar, like the post office has a package for me, or maybe we've all heard the Nigerian prince wants some money, but a lot of times it's, hey, my car dealer is trying to offer me a really good price on a car. So I click on a link, it downloads some malware. Next thing you know, I'm getting a blue screen or a pirate flag on my screen saying, we have all your data, and unless you're going to pay me a lot of Bitcoin, you're not getting your data back. And I think so because of between the scare factor and the hype in the media and the fact that this stuff really happens, ransomware is a big issue that people need to recognize. I mean, what do you think? I mean, when you hear ransomware, Victor, I mean, are you thinking technology, computers, or are you thinking something else?
Yeah, to be honest, I get that a lot. In my family, I try to educate, or I would say security awareness, free trainings to them. And usual question I get is, I only trust it, or I only go to trusted websites. Do I still need to care about ransomware? Do I still need to worry about ransomware? And my usual, once I done cringing about it, my usual response is that, how do you know it's trusted website? We all, as humans, there's gonna be moments where we're gonna miss those obvious differentiators in the email or website, and we're gonna put our password, we're gonna click on something. To your point, we're gonna download that malware, or even worse, some websites have some scripts running within the website that can actually use your computer resources to mine crypto. So how do you know it's trusted? So at the end of the day, I would say, yes, you are at risk, even if you go to those trusted websites. When you consider, keep your eyes peeled, be prepared for that. As an end user, as an organization, as a company, we all should be keeping our eyes out for ransomware.
Yeah, I mean, I tell a lot of people, for example, don't open the email if you don't recognize who it's from. Definitely don't open the email, and don't just start clicking links and people unless you know exactly where you're going, because you may walk down that dark alley and who knows who's waiting for you.
Exactly. My best is, or the favorite one I heard is, can I just rename my files and just access them again? And why do I have to care about it?
I think that's crazy. What about people who back up? Does anyone back up data anymore?
That's interesting. So one of the true stories, actually, I won't name the name here, but 2 years ago, I got a call and they're like, we got hit by ransomware, but we just want your opinion on it. But at the same time, I think we are good because we have backups. Like, oh, that's great. You're the smartest people. You prepared for it. This is good. When we start peeling that onion, those backups were on the same network that ransomware hit.
Oh, no.
And the backups were actually, you guessed it, encrypted as well. So no matter if you have backups, if you have not planned for it, if they were not offline, not on the same network. We talked about this 3-2-1 backup strategy, I think 10 years ago, and we're still talking about it, which is
Yep.
okay. But again, consider those opportunities. Michael, what about preparation steps? I know we're talking about the problem, we're talking about the challenge here. What about the preparation steps? What can we tell our community that people should consider when they are considering to be prepared for ransomware attacks?
Well, I think there's really three things that people should really think about to prepare for a ransomware attack. And it's really not preparing for a ransomware attack per se. It's really preparing for any kind of disaster or any other kind of surprise you may hit. The first one is really make sure you have good backups. And you have to test those backups. A friend of mine tells me backup is easy, recovery is hard, and you will never know if your backups are good unless you test them. The 3-2-1 backup strategy, of course, is always great. So you want to have your what is it? Was it three kinds of backup, three backups, 2 locations, and I always forget what the one.
I think offsite. One is offsite.
Yeah, that's right. One is offsite, but that goes with the 2. But to be honest with you, for ransomware, it's you have to have a little extra one. You need to have a socially distanced copy. So something that's completely offline that you can recover. So anyway, make sure you have good backups and you test those backups. That's one. The second one is you have some good education. You have to educate your employees and educate your friends and your family on what not to do. Because if you're not educating people on what's good and what's not good, they're gonna step in something, and it's going to be painful when they step in it. And then the third thing is get your team. Understand, who do you call when something happens. Don't wait to say, well, I have a problem now, who do I call? Because the reality is no one's going to take your call unless they're your best friends. No one's going to take your call Friday night at 7 p.m. to help you recover your data, because the reality is all this stuff happens like Friday afternoon or 8 a.m. Monday morning, or maybe right before a big 3-day holiday or whatever. It always happens at the worst time. So know who you're going to call. So good backups, good training, and know who you're going to call. And I'll kind of add the 3-part A: practice. Practice. So if you have your friends and family that you're going to call them in advance. Make sure they know they expect your call. If not, find your trained professional. In fact, Victor, that's actually a really interesting question: is how many people do you know actually know who they're going to call? I mean, if it's like my friends and family, they know they're going to call me, but I'm not always there.
Yeah. And I'll speak for organizations that I talk to, or at least the friends I have that they represent these companies. Usually, they might have a plan, incident response plan, and in that plan, they have, first thing we're going to call our PR team, or first thing we're going to call our CEO, first thing we're going to call our board of directors to determine that this happened. Here are the options. Where do we go? One thing to also consider is that if you are going to involve law enforcement, you also want to make sure that your PR, public relation team, marketing team, or the public facing message content team is involved as well, because that's usually a mess. That you go in and involve law enforcement, at that point, you always miss the point that how are we going to address this in public as well. One thing I'll say that you touched upon about the training, my personal pet peeve is when companies are training their employees about ransomware, then they have these like 15 or 50 or 500 modules that they need to watch as a training. I think that's actually serving negatively in our environment. It should be something constructive, as I give you a simulation or an email, fake email, spot 5 things that indicates it's a phishing email. That's what I feel that it's missing. And if I fail, then yeah, send me to some sort of training that I have to watch, and I'll be excited. I'll be actually really looking forward to that training, because I failed something to detect, which is in my personal interest now, because I'm not gained something out of that training. Otherwise, I'm just boring watching, and I will admit it. Sometimes I just play it and keep doing something else, or maybe eating something.
I try to answer the question before the stories are over to see if I can get it right. And usually I'm like three steps ahead of these people. I agree. The old school way of training where you sit and watch 2 hours of presentations that's over. The trainings to evolve. And I think the really good ones do exactly what you prescribed is, they'll provide quick messages. It's short things that people can assimilate quickly and over a period of time. So it's like, 5 minutes here, 10 minutes there. Here's a quick brief, watch this short video. All those things are good. I think the other point that you made on law enforcement absolutely needs to be part of the picture. Now, what you have to realize is you can call the Secret Service, you can call CISA, you can call the FBI, but they're not your 24/7 incident response people. And unless you're a sizable company or you're part of the critical infrastructure of the United States, like your banking or a utilities firm or something like that, it's going to be, and I hate to say this, in most cases, it's going to be take a number because they got so many cases that they're working that, your $3,000 ransomware, it's not going to really get their attention. One thing I suggest though, and if you talk to these folks in the public sector, they will tell you the same thing. Call them in advance, talk to them, get to know who they are, invite them as part of your program, invite them to speak to your people, invite them to, when you run a simulation, ask them to be a part of it. They are more than willing to cooperate.
Yeah, and as we wrap this session, I will say we'll talk about that. We already talked about the challenge. We I think conveyed our message that everybody should be looking out and preparing for ransomware attacks. Now, give us your suggestions or something to take away from this session for our audience. That how would they prepare for it? What are your, if you were on the hot seat and you were asked that, how do I prepare, Michael?
Well, again, the best thing you can do is test and run a simulation. And they're not hard. You can spend 30 minutes, you can spend an hour, you can spend a couple hours, but get the key people in the room and run a simulation where you say, okay, we have ransomware. Laptops down. What do we do? And see how people respond. And ideally, you can put a plan together. So really, one of the biggest things is, get your people together, run a simulation, but get a plan together. And I'm not talking a big tome of 120 pages that, within 15 minutes, people will throw it out the window, but come up with a couple of good steps, good action plans, people you would call, how you would get in touch with them, who's part of that team, and how you would escalate it. You get the cybersecurity teams involved quickly. You get your IT people involved quickly. You mentioned communications. I mean, getting the communications people who can talk to your clients, your customers, that's really important. So really, get a plan together, simulate, and then make sure you have your team assembled. I think all those things are great.
Yeah. Since you talked to the organizational plan and our enterprise plan and what people should be considering, I'll speak to the end user. So if you detected that you got hit by ransomware on your endpoint, on your computer, on your PC when you're working, first of all, the first thing you want to do is disconnect network. That could be Wi-Fi, that could be the physical cable going to your computer. Disconnect it right away. Second, disconnect your external USB drives that we all use these days to back up things. Again, disconnect it right away. The last thing you want is that ransomware hit your computer and the backup on that USB drive or the flash drive or the thumb drive, whatever you're using. Finally, report that incident right away to your support system or the help desk ticket or whatever. Make that call right away. Do not wait. Do not think that what's going to happen, or do not go to a third-party vendor, a local shop, and try to get it fixed. It's not worth it. Your organizations need to know about it. They need to ensure that it's handled properly. So once again, I'm speaking to those end users. You want to do three things: disconnect network, disconnect external drives, and report that incident.
That's great, Victor. Those are great ideas. I mean, I think too many people, they're not preparing for it. And so those three actions, which are very simple, and for people that have been doing this for as long as you and I have, that's kind of instinctual. But if you're talking to someone who is not as technology savvy, or even if you're just talking to someone, maybe a professional that may be, doctors and lawyers. I mean, they're really good at what they do, practicing medicine and practicing law. Maybe even your auto mechanic, again, really great at working on your car. But when it comes to technology issues, especially cyber attacks, they just, a lot of them like deer in the headlights and just watch it happen.
Exactly. Well, again, prepare for ransomware and make sure you don't get hit by it. I will say that. Best of luck, Michael. Thank you so much for talking to us, talking to our audience. This is really helpful. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Victor. Thanks for inviting me. This has been a lot of fun.